Well, hi, YouTube. Author Carissa McIntyre here, and today I have brought to you an absolutely smorgasbord of stitched together videos based around a bookshelf tour and my favorite books. If that's not a thing for you, that's cool. I know a lot of you are just here for me to read naughty smut to you, and that's coming again soon. In the meantime, you can go watch some of my other videos, because this one is about books. And not my books either, so, I am definitely testing my editing skills here, because I have a handful of videos that I have taken doing the tour. So the tour in itself is something that has been highly requested on TikTok, but I cannot do full-length book videos on there like I'd like, for a various amount of reasons. So I'm bringing them over here. So hi, TikTok, Book Talk. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If this is the only video that you watch, cool. If you heard me say smut, you can stick around. Another one's coming soon. And I can't do smut on YouTube or on TikTok. So, we're like sharing my audience between platforms right now. Hi. I'm going to try not to touch the mic. I set it up in a terrible spot, but we're here now. We're committed. The next time around, it'll be in a better spot. So hi YouTube and hi TikTok. We're here today. We're gathered all together to do the bookshelf tour that I have been promising and trying to stitch together in little bits on TikTok, but it is difficult. So we're doing a long one here. I'm going to do a little rundown of the bookshelves, and then I will talk a little bit about them, and then I'm going to come back around and talk about my 5 favorite book series of all times. Series, not single books. It's so hard for me to pick a book, or any book, or a top 5 book at all. I got the series down pat, though, because then it's actually like 50 books. Also, not that this matters, but to the guy who dirty deleted his YouTube comment telling me that I do not read male authors because you found one YouTube video of me with like 5 books that I happen to read on a slow month and they happen to be female. Enjoy the next montage of books. I have a whole shelf dedicated to Dean Koontz and a large shelf dedicated to Stephen King. And I know those are 2 very generic male authors, but and we got some R.L. Stine in there, and we have all of the Game of Thrones, and we have a lot of indie novels, and I just did Womb, and that was a read. All right, we'll be back. You'll still be here. Welcome to my living room library. So this shelf entirely is to be read, and my indie books, which I'm very proud of these. They are either all rescued from the thrift stores, because if I see somebody's book that is an indie author in a thrift store, I'll snatch it up. Or I've actually, I know some of these authors and I purchase their books and I support them the same way I would love if you guys would support me. I am a writer. Hi, and welcome to one of my absolute favorite bookshelves ever. And from what you guys can see, it's literally all Stephen King. There are a handful of other really good reads on here that I love oh so much. Funny story about those. I'm not religious at all. Shout out to Eddie and the boys, because that's how I bond with my teen. Eddie watches scare videos and then he lights his candles, and so, on the way to bond with my teen, I have found the same candles, and I light them when we watch spooky videos. It keeps us safe. So thanks, Eddie. Also, because I'm proud as all hell of them, I have multiple collections of Firestarter, Pet Sematary, the Bachman books that contain Rage. I have 2 of them. I will gather as many as possible. Both Firestarters have the different covers. I have 2 different covers of Salem's Lot. I think I have almost everything Stephen King's wrote. There's a bunch more down there. I'm missing maybe 2 or 3, Got a couple of his son's books mixed in there and on the other shelf, but I'll get back to that one. Your second fun fact of my random bookshelf book tour is that after I filmed a TikTok montage the other day, I piled up all of the favorite series so that I could make another video, forgetting that I hadn't actually done this part of the YouTube video. And I want to combine the TikTok and the YouTube videos. So I had to put all the series back on the shelf so that I could do this part. And then I take them all back off again. So another fun fact, nobody wants to help me move anymore because of books. Not furniture, not anything else, it's books. If I'm moving, it's books. They're like, no thank you. No. Anyway, this is my second favorite shelf of all time. Yeah, it contains a lot. It contains a lot of A Wrinkle in Time, but we'll get to that. And it's horror and some indie books. Everything except for this bottom one doesn't really count a whole lot. I hope the audio is going to turn out all right. We're all in this together, guys. I also collect the most random knickknacks and I add them to everything. So, do you know who this is? I would love to say last but not least, except I have no idea what editing order these are going in. So, you know, this is the last one I'm filming. I don't know what you're going to see. This is my other favorite corner. These are all the ones you've probably seen so far of like my favorites are all upstairs in my living room, which I wish I could show you, but I'm not because it's a mess. But this is like one little corner. This is my reading corner, the little corner on the couch that I sit in, and sometimes I write there too. The couch is like right here. There's the couch. Cool, that's all you're seeing. Yeah, so Anne Rice, witchy stuff, a lot of Anne Rice. Some smut in there, not a lot. A lot of it gets read on my Kindle, although I'm slowly changing that. Nerdy stuff. You guys seem to hate that I have not read these series or I'm not loving this series. I'm only 2 books into the City of the Lost Ones. It is what it is. Also, my book nook. My teenager bought me this. It was the coolest thing ever. I made a montage of it on my TikTok. So my TikTok guys, hi! My book talk friends, you've seen it. YouTube, you should go to TikTok and go check it out. It was really cool. Yep. That's me, best-selling author. I will be one day, especially with this new book. You guys are loving it. Okay, that's it. Now we're going to talk about favorite series. Or not. Maybe I haven't edited this well and you guys have like 3 more bookshelves to do. Well, hey, we're in Lady Mac's basement and the lighting is terrible, and I'll make these ones short and sweet. The kids call this my classics and boring and biography shelf. I mean, they're probably not really wrong, but there's some really good ones in there. And I have the most random book in here that I found. Oh, right here. And it is a school textbook. And it is about the search for the abominable snowman. And it is an actual school textbook from 1966. Sorry, I know the lighting is terrible. I just did this on a whim. And we are back. Yeah, hi. Making our way around my basement. This is my young adult section. Basically everything that I grew up loving is in here, and then everything that's come out since I have been an adult, that is young adult, that I love. I am missing the Harry Potter series. It's slowly been confiscated by my kids. I have a couple down here of the newer ones. This is the Cursed Child one. I'm gonna have to restart that collection, but I got the rest. I had to steal back my Divergent series. Have you guys read that? Because wow, the movies do not do the book series justice. And the book series broke my heart so bad, I won't read it a second time. I'm not going over all the books in the shelf because the bottom half is like a smorgasbord of stuff that I have a few shelves I'm not going to go over. You will see them when it cycles through them all quickly, but they don't deserve a breakdown. They're just a smorgasbord of stuff I haven't sorted. Not that the books aren't good and don't deserve to be spoken about. Don't listen to me. Art copy of Slappy World. Love that. It's uncorrected too, unedited. I'm slowly recollecting my Goosebump books in the Babysitter's Club. They've all seen better days. The Game of Thrones series and a spoof book, Game of Groans. I'm going to get reading those and get back to you. Stay tuned. Well, hello, YouTube. It's probably been the 3 minutes it's taken or so for you to get through that. But a whole afternoon has passed for me. I've changed my hair slightly, and I got coffee. I have no idea how this is going to stitch together. I may be wasting everybody's time. Ideally, though, I've put together like a 20-minute video of an in-depth look at my book hoarding, which has been requested thoroughly by TikTok. I didn't just decide to show off the fact that I can't go a single day without collecting books. But also, the majority of the rest of this video, I hope to monopolize your time sharing my absolute favorite book series of all time. I got 5 here for you, so buckle in, get some popcorn, make a coffee or a tea, and I am going to share them with you. I'm not going to go through, obviously, like every book in the series or spoil too much for you. I want to share them. So, absolute top of the list, which I might actually include another little clip after this to show you how bad it really is. But this is my Wrinkle in Time collection. This is not my Wrinkle in Time collection. I have an entire shelf. I have like 8 copies of A Wrinkle in Time. I have every cover ever, even the movie cover that I hate. I have the graphic comic. And then I have about 7 copies of Many Waters. Because it's my favorite, okay? First of all, A Wrinkle in Time was wrote in, I believe, the early 70s. It is a series that revolves around a scientist's family and their children. It involves space travel. It involves magic. It has a lot of really cool elements to it. There's fantasy. There's some romance in the later books, like An Acceptable Time. Like as it starts with, I'm actually missing one, I believe, from down here, not from my whole collection. I think the Starfish book I left upstairs. Anyway, it does start, Wrinkle in Time starts when the kids are young, and it follows some of them through different storylines, but I had hinted at romance, like they get older, and they're not in their family. Wow, did that come out wrong? Like, it follows a family, and then there's romance. There's other people. Calvin's in here. The movie series, or I guess the movie that they were going to turn into a series and then everybody hated for A Wrinkle in Time, is awful. I said what I said. It sucks. I do not recommend watching it. If you have read the book, it is a waste of your time. If you've never read the book and you watch the movie, please forget you ever watched that and go read the book, because it is not the same. The only thing they kept the same, I think, is the main core the core storyline is that A Wrinkle in Time starts where it's like Meg is like 12 and her brother is, I think, 5, and their father is a scientist and he's missing. And they end up traveling through time and space, in a sense, to save him. That's, I think, the only thing the movie got right from the storyline. It's all garbage, all of it. Surprisingly, despite the fact that I own like every single copy ever of every kind, I'm starting to feel like that Wedding Crashers girl, except I've read A Wrinkle in Time. There's a girl that's collecting Wedding Crashers, and I think she's up to like 800, and she's never watched the movie. She just has bookshelves upon bookshelves filled with The Wedding Crasher. So my running joke is that the two I collect most are Many Waters and A Wrinkle in Time. But it's not even A Wrinkle in Time that I love most. It's Many Waters. I don't know why. It's such an... The storyline is so out of character for what you might think would be like my favorite book. It is heavily based in religion. It is heavily based off of the older twins of Meg. And I believe they are about 15 in this book. And they get, in a sense, warped into Noah's Ark's timeline. But I think the real reason why it resonates and I love it so much is because it has so much other religious lore in it, which is related to like Enoch and a lot of the Muriel's Machine and how a lot of religions tie into one another, and Newgrange and the Watchers. And if one person understands what I said, that's awesome, and I would love to pick your brain. Anyway, that is why I think I love Many Waters so much, even though it's... Yeah, and these are all young adult books too. I started reading these when I was like, I don't know, like 10 or 12. So if you've got like young kids who you're trying to get into reading, or you want to look into some young adult, like it's easier reading, this is not it. This is sci-fi and fantasy, but it is a really good young adult series, and I love it. So that is my take on Wrinkle in Time. It is my number one series probably ever. Well, these are all my number one series for different reasons. So that's like, yeah, that's my like young adult fantasy sci-fi book series. There you go. And I am actually working my way through them again. So I just finished Wrinkle in Time about a week ago. So it will be in my September book reviews. And then I have a copy of Many Waters in my to be read shelf too. That's how many I have a copy upstairs in the shelf. I think I have 3 upstairs for different covers. Don't even start on A Wrinkle in Time. Like they're everywhere. Okay. So yes. So then probably in October, there will be Many Waters in my book review for that. So stay tuned. And the second one that I have for you, I don't know why I'm carrying all these around, is the Clan of the Cave Bear series. Oh, I fucking love this book series too. Absolutely love it. Fun, sad fact. Maybe I shouldn't have said fun. Fun fact about the book series. It was never finished by the original author that I know of. What I understand is that it was the last notes for the last book were compiled and re-released by a family member because the author passed away before the book series was ever finished. Which makes me think of Game of Thrones. Okay, anyway. George Martin is never finishing all the books he wants to write. He's getting up there. There's an interview with him and Stephen King, and he was like, how do you write like 7 books a year? And then Stephen King's like, do you even write? This book series is wild, and I don't know, something about it really captivated me. It is the story of a woman, and I want to say, like, think right at the cusp of, you know, if you're heavily religious, you're gonna have to expand your mind for this. This is right at the cusp of when humans and, like, I guess the lesser humanoid of like a caveman version is still there. Okay, like very different brains, very different way of, it's like Meet the Croods, right? So this woman is Ella. She is separated. She's a like full human, not would be considered a caveman with like the frontal lobe brain, right? She is separated when she is, I think, 2 from her tribe. Either her leg is broke or her mother. It's been a while since I've read this to get every single nitty bitty detail right. But either her leg is broke or her mom's leg. No, it is her leg that is broke, and her tribe leaves her behind, and she survives for a few days with. She's attacked by a cave lion too, or it's either a cave bear or a lion. It is a lion because that becomes her animal, and then cave people find her, and one of the women from the tribe is insistent that Alla stays with them, but they do not speak a lot of words at all, really. The difference in brains, like it's a lot of grunts, noises, versus Alla can make, like she can speak, but she is often shunned for that. And a lot of her experience growing up is separated and shunned from the tribe because they all see her as lesser. And it's heartbreaking in a lot of the book. This is not an easy read. However, it goes on from her and then throughout her growing up, and she does leave the tribe. That's not, most of this book is about her growing up and leaving the tribe. So that's not really a spoiler into the rest of this. She has a wild life. It is incredible. And this follows basically her entire life. Meeting other humans, meeting other cave people and their clans. And it is historically very well done. It follows like seasonal changes and how the world would have been back then, and it goes into really incredible detail of survival skills and how they would make stuff and how they would survive and how they would live and eat. And I love it. I absolutely loved this series. Of all of these book series, I've got a pile behind me of the other ones. This one I have read least recently. It would have been Wrinkle in Time, but as I said, I'm making my way back through that one. So I'm going to circle back to this, I think, because it's been a while. I don't think I've read this in about, I'm going to say 10 years, maybe 8 years. The other ones I have read within, like, since COVID. I've made my way through the other book series I'm going to mention. So there we go. There's 2. No time is going to pass and I'll be back. But I'm going to see you later for a sec. And we are back and we are live. And you know what? You didn't even notice. Okay, this one will be short and sweet, but also maybe not. The Witching Hour by Anne Rice is not even, listen, Linda, listen. That's 3 books. If you know The Interview with the Vampire, that is tied into this. If you read Merrick or any of the standalone witches, Pandora, that's tied into this. I don't know how many books Anne Rice has wrote that tie into The Witching Hour. Ties into Lasher, ties into Taltos, all of them. And then, I mean, The Interview with the Vampire series is probably also like a separate series, but a favorite series, but I'm not including it here because I'm putting them all under The Witching Hour, okay? Anne Rice, oh, I'm touching you guys. Getting feedback, I'm sorry. Anne Rice was an incredible author. Standalone novels, top 5 for sure, Exit to Eden. And she wrote it under Anne Rampling. It's erotic for sure, especially for like an 80s book. And it's out there. She writes really, really long, first of all, okay? Just like forewarning you, The Witching Hour is, oh, I got Flowers Press in there. This is from the Lindsay Public Library. This is a lot. You got to commit to it, okay? But the characters in The Witching Hour follow, I want to say 5 generations, but it could even be like 7, but it's really hard to say because there's a grandfather that fathers a lot through the generations. So, they get a little. So there's that. So be aware of that there is some of that in there, in pedo stuff. She's an odd author for sure. But none of it is like, it has a spot in the story. It's hard to justify that, especially in 2024. Listen, there are dark romance readers on here with me. We know, we read what we read. It has nothing to do with real life. We do not judge ourselves accordingly. So there's some really messed up stuff in these books, and I love them. But yeah, so this series, outside of that, follows a large family of witches over multiple generations, and they aren't just witches. Some of them do tie into the vampire series of Interview with the Vampire, especially Merrick. Merrick is like 8 books in and really meshes, like it's almost entirely with Lestat as well as one of the witches. So that's really interesting. Or is it Merrick? Or is it the book after Merrick and we get introduced to Merrick? Oh, it's been a while. There's like Blood and Ice and Blackwood Farm. Honestly, the Mayfair series is large. And yeah, the way Anne Rice has woven all of those books together is incredible. And can they be read alone? Absolutely, because a lot of people have no idea that the vampire series and the witch series coexist at all literally in the same city, in the same timeline. Same with her. Oh, this has been a while since I've read it too, but tucked in here in the series is a group of investigators that investigate supernatural. I forget what she calls them. I wish I had checked that before I had started recording. I would also put this farther down on how recently I've read. I have read the series, I'll say like 2017, 2016, I reread the series. Not all of them, but quite a bit. So I'm a little rusty. But as I've read it like 4 times, it's still in there pretty good. So highly recommend the Mayfair series. It's wonderful, and it's so beautifully woven together throughout all of the books that she has wrote with all of those characters. Okay, I have 2 more series to do for you. I hope you have enjoyed watching this so far. It's probably extensively long, but here we are. Well, hello. You haven't gone anywhere, but welcome back. And, welcome back. Okay, last 2 series, I actually will not take a lot of your time because I'm starting to realize how long these videos are. And I have to edit them. Anyway, they're still worth going through. For me and for you. Last 2, I promise, are probably my most... I keep saying that. They're all my favorites. But I've read one very recently, and the other one I have read recently too, but also I don't think it matters because it's in there. Okay. Battle Axe series by Sarah Douglas. Where is the first one? The first one of my book is missing the cover from like, how old am I? About 20 years ago. Oh boy. I picked this book up on a whim at a bookstore in Halliburton. It was a tiny little store, only had a handful of books to choose from, and it was a big book. and it was like fantasy and magic. So I was like, you know what? I'll get into this series. It gives me something to do. Oh, did it ever. This series is just, oh my God. Okay, so I don't even know I will draw on forever if I talk too much about it. But it basically follows the story of a guy who grows up in a world where there is magic and there is also the world is at war. And it is not in our kind of a timeline where there's like technology and stuff, or we're going back to like castles and traveling on horseback. He finds out, so the war, the military and a lot of the people are at war with magic. So Axis finds out as an adult coming into becoming the like military war leader that he's actually magical, extremely like one of the most powerful magic, like people that can use magic ever. And then there is a race of people called the Ikari, and they have wings and they are extremely magical, and they've been like back forever, like hiding away from like the war. And a huge war breaks out and everybody's like changing sides, and there's a couple of women who get woven into this, and one is very sneaky, and then the other one is wonderful and magical, and I shouldn't say that. The other one is, she's nice too, but like, her storyline's a little, Faraday, there's even more, there's even more books to this too. It continues on later. They can shape shift, and so like this series though, in reality, I've recommended it to men and women, and I've never heard anyone be disappointed, because it goes into real like well done depth of military, of war, of like there's like an entire books of this that are like while they're at battle, right? But then there's like magic torn in the middle of it, and there's romance, there's tension, there is enough for everyone. There's no graphic sex, so like, you know, for the men who are like, oh, you know, not sure, you said romance. No, it's like, you know, he's torn between two of these like crazy witch women, and like that kind of a romance, and one can help him in battle, and it's worth the read. It is so unbelievably, incredibly worth the read in like every way. Oh yeah, and there's like space travel and stuff too, so it does get into sci-fi. The Sarah Douglas Battle Axe series has literally something for everyone, but it is my favorite to recommend to male readers, because if you like, you'll love these series. Like if you liked R.A. Salvatore, if you like fantasy, if you liked D&D, these are books for you for sure. So wherever that guy went, I'm sorry, this is not a male author, but you'll love these books. These are for you. Okay, and last but not least, I'm only going to show 2 books from it. That's all that really matters, but I'm not picking, there's so many. I don't know why I brought these all over here. It's the Gunslinger series by Stephen King. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 books in the series, because they have released The Wind in the Keyhole now. And I tagged along Salem's Lot because I don't think a lot of people realize that Salem's Lot is heavily involved in the Gunslinger series. Actually, the main character, the priest from Salem's Lot, ends up in the Gunslinger series periodically in books like 4 and 6. One's a flashback. 5 is the flashback book. I actually read these in the last few years. I read Battle Axe just after COVID, and then I read these, I think, back to back, or I might have read them the other way around. So they're still fresh there. Anyway, there are actually 23 books, I think, don't quote me on that Stephen King has wrote that are all connected into the Gunslinger series, which is really wild. It's another one of those authors that I'm just fascinated by, that you've wrote all of these books that have their own story and their own characters, and yet some of them only have tiny little glimpses. Insomnia has tiny little glimpses into the Gunslinger series. It was just on the tip of my tongue. In the Gunslinger series, they reference a couple of books that are just hints at it. I think in Castle Rock alone, Stephen King has like 50 different books that set place, or maybe that's too many. Maybe it's like 25 or something, and like they're not even all connected, and like even with Derry, but they kind of are. But the Dark Tower, the Gunslinger series, definitely intertwines many books, but Salem's Lot for sure. All that said, I don't think I said anything about the book. Starts with, well, how does it start? The dark man chases the gunslinger chases the dark man across the desert. Well, that sums up the whole series. There, here you go. The man in black fled across the desert, and the gunslinger followed. Okay, I had it backwards. I'm sorry, but I knew it. That's the whole thing. That's the all 9-10 books is the gunslinger chasing this fucking man in black that he's been chasing his whole life. And that sounds stupid when you sum it into one sentence, but it's so good. It's got Western, it's got magic, it's got sci-fi, it's got romance. But I don't recommend it necessarily because everybody's heard of it, right? If I was going to recommend you a book, I wouldn't immediately go to Stephen King or Anne Rice because everybody knows them. That's my not that I don't love them, but I would recommend these ones. But do I love these? Yes. If you haven't read them, this is my favorite series. Read it. Oh my God. The tower and the beams and the turtle. Ugh. And there's so many little things in these books. So I thought about challenging myself, but I haven't really, because it's a big, you got to sit up. I'm going to challenge myself sometime to read all of the books that are connected into the Gunslinger series. Like I have them all. As you saw, I have a very extensive Stephen King collection, and I have read them all. But I want to read them. I want to read all of the books outside that aren't thoroughly connected. Like Salem's Lot is very connected, so I'll probably read Salem's Lot like right before I reread the Gunslinger series. But I want to read so I said I think it's 23 books that are connected. So like I'll read all like the first 16 that are only like twinkles of connections, and then I'll read the other ones that are like heavily connected, and then I'll reread through these. I don't know. We'll see. I have heard the Gunslinger, was it a movie that came out? Whatever came out that was finished, not the Mike Flanagan one, was garbage. I think it actually says on one of these. I have the cover somewhere. It does. Matthew McConaughey. I don't know who directed that one. Don't watch that. I heard it was awful. But I don't know. Okay, I'll lift them for you. I don't know how you can compile all of this and all of this into a movie or a book or a movie or a show or a series and do it justice. I do not believe you can do that. I just don't. I don't have faith in that. So read it. Okay, here, this has been like a 45-minute video. Enjoy. Thank you. Somebody's had this on in the background because they just want to hear me babble, and I love you for that. All right. Take care. Much love. I have a smutty reading coming up soon, and I am going to redo the Halloween one, and I'm also planning a really yummy Christmas one coming up, trying to catch those seasonal things, and I'm working on my hentai, so expect some weird octopus tentacle teasers coming up. Ciao!